So, I really just want to talk about something that I woke up thinking about today, and that was how to get out of a creative rut. And the reason I want to talk about this is because I feel like I have the answer to this, and I want to share it with people. So, to give a bit of backstory, for the past 5 years, I've been like a recent graduate from art school. So, I got my MFA in 2019. And since then, I've just been working alone in my studio. I've also shared studio spaces. And, I've had to have my practice be very self directed. I have to decide for myself what I want to paint, what I want to draw, what I want to sculpt, what I want to research. And it's kind of like the Wild West, and maybe other recent graduates can relate to this. It's like when you're in art school, you have this structure, maybe you have assignments, maybe you have deadlines, but as a graduate, a person in the real world, you have to sort of figure out for yourself what you want to make, how you want to make it. You set your own hours, you find your own studio, and it can be really daunting. And I think that sort of freedom can lead to confusion. So for me, I think for a few years after I graduated art school, I was really, I won't say confused, because I knew there were things that I wanted to make and paintings that I wanted to make, but I guess I just felt like I lacked direction. Like I was doing a lot of different themes and exploring a lot of different subjects in my work, and I wasn't really settling on one thing. And I used to think, oh, that's good. It's good to have as many, themes and subjects as possible. I don't want to be put in a box. But I'm kind of realizing that maybe for me, that wasn't the truth. I think I genuinely just was confused and lost. It's not that I was trying to do as many things as possible. I think I just didn't know what I wanted to do. So, however, I will say that in the past almost year, I have broken free from that confusion. I have broken free from that artistic rut. And from the outside looking in, it wouldn't look like I was in a rut, because if you look on my Instagram or whatever or website, you'll see I was posting a lot of paintings. I was making a lot of paintings, but privately I was feeling a bit lacking direction, confused, and I was seeking not necessarily one theme that I wanted to paint and work on, but a sort of focus. Not saying the focus is just one thing, but the focus is a bunch. It might be two or three things. So like I said, the past almost year, I feel like I've gotten out of that rut, and I feel really, really, really good in my art practice, and I'm really happy with the work that I'm making. And I found a focus that I'm really excited about, and something that I feel like it's one singular thing, but there's so many branches that come off of it that I can explore. And it took me 5 years after graduating to find that. And what I've been doing a lot of lately is a lot of paintings of women. I've been focusing on the female figure, and I've been focusing on artificial female figures. So mannequins, dolls, also women who are real, but also in positions where they're performing. So they're not necessarily being authentic, they're performing. So I've done paintings of ballerinas, figure skaters, as well as musicians, like women performing on stage. So I'm really interested in this idea of the artificial woman, or a woman who is an object while simultaneously being a woman. And what does that say about female objectification? What does it say about how we see ourselves, how other people see us? What does it say about how women are represented in visual culture and media? So you see, I'm really excited about that. And it took me a while to get to that point. And honestly, every day I wake up so happy, just so grateful to be out of the rut and to have found a place where I'm really happy and really excited to just come to the studio and make the work that resonates with me and speaks to my own personal experience as well. Because as a woman, as a Black woman, you experience a lot of objectification and being seen as non-human. There's been so many times where I've interacted with a man, usually, but sometimes another woman, and I think does this person see me as a human being? Because the way they're treating me, I genuinely think they see me as like a shoe or like a hammer. I don't feel like I'm being seen as a human with blood in her veins. So anyway, that's a personal experience that directly feeds into the practice, the art that I'm making. What I'll do now is list what I did to overcome this artistic rut that I was in, and hopefully it will help you if you are in a similar space. And I hope that this applies to a bunch of different disciplines. So I'm a visual artist, slowly becoming a writer, but I hope that this also relates to if you're a musician, if you're, I don't know, you're a woodworker, you're a DJ, you're a dancer, like if you're anything creative and you feel like just lost and stuck and you don't know where to go, I really hope this helps you, because I'm just speaking from personal experience. This is what helped me. So the first thing that I did to get out of a creative rut was acknowledge that I was in a creative rut, and just be honest with myself and say, I'm really lost right now. And that kind of was like an evolving process. It wasn't like a light bulb moment where I woke up one day and was like, oh my God, I'm lost. It was just slowly over a period of months and years, I kind of realized I actually don't know what I'm doing. So maybe it was kind of a light bulb moment, but like a delayed light bulb moment. So I think the first step is acknowledging like I am lost. And I think that's hard to acknowledge because it can be, you know, kind of scary to admit, and it requires vulnerability to say like, I don't know what I'm doing. But to admit that to yourself, I think is really powerful. And then once you do that, then you can start taking the steps. So I would say just realize you are lost. You don't know what's going on. You're confused. You are not in a place, you're not in a good place creatively. And that's okay. It's like the first step to healing is to admit that something is wrong. So I admitted that something was wrong. And that was difficult because it was like a crisis, like, oh my God, I must be a terrible artist. Maybe I'm not meant to be an artist if I don't know what I'm doing. Yeah, so it's like an existential crisis, but from like the sort of debris of that crisis, you can rebuild. So after I realized, okay, something is wrong, then I started to think, what can I do to change it? So that leads me to the next point, which is one way to get out of a creative rut is to change your environment. And I know that's easier said than done. Not everybody can just like pick up and move studio spaces or move training space or whatever, but that's what I had to do. So I was in a studio complex. I was so unhappy there, but I really didn't have another option at the time. I hated it so much because it was in like central London, like Oxford Circus, if you're familiar with that area. And it was so busy. There were so many tourists. Going to the studio every day was a hassle. It took a long time to get there. The building was like a former office building, so it just had like a weird corporate vibe, and that's not what you want when you're an artist. Like you need like a warehouse dirty vibe where you can just like get messy in the studio. But this place was like very prim and proper, and I felt like I couldn't like unwind and let loose there. It was also a pretty small space relative to the size of paintings that I do. And I also wasn't a huge fan of the organization that led the building. I felt like they saw the artists in the building. There were about, I would say, 40 artists in the building. I think they saw us as like cash cows. I feel like they were always trying to make money off of us or parade us around to their sponsors and benefactors. And I was just there to paint and just mind my business. And I had some friends in the building, which was nice, but I just kind of felt like I was constantly being, and other artists felt this as well. We even raised a complaint at one point because it just kind of felt like, you know, this organization, are they truly trying to allow us to flourish in our practices, or are they trying to like make money off of us? January 2024, so earlier this year, I moved. I said, I can't do this anymore. Like I'm unhappy here. I feel so stuck. I need a new space. So it took me a few months, but I eventually found a new space in London that I'm so happy in. Like I'm so happy here. I'm in my studio right now. And coming in here, every time I come in here, I'm just like, thank you, Jesus. I feel so blessed. It's such a beautiful space. It gives me exactly what I need. It's dirty, it's messy, it's ugly, and that's exactly what I want. And it's also like really private, and the people that run this building, they're not in anyone's business. It's very chill. They're hands off. You can just do you. No one's in your business. No one's trying to make a quick buck off of you. So I'm really happy here. Now the rent is expensive, but I think it's worth it. Like I have beautiful windows, great light, a lot of space, and I'm truly, truly blessed. There are mice. However, I don't mind that. I'll take mice over what I had before any day. So change your space and see what that does to you mentally. You have to realize that a lot of our artistic practice, it's mental. It's like, oh, we have to have ideas. We have to have, you know, creative energy, but it's also like practical. If you're in a small, bad space or with bad lighting, low ceilings, whatever, it's going to be hard to make the work you want to make. So you have to create like the physical reality that'll best suit your art practice. So that was like the biggest thing, honestly, for me. And if you can't physically change your space, I would say rearrange it. That's another thing. So maybe you can't like pick up and move, but maybe you can like get a new desk or find one on Facebook Marketplace or paint the walls or get a carpet. Like do something in your space to like change the energy and to give it new life. The second thing or the third thing I would say to do to get out of a creative rut is to take a break. That's something I did, and that's difficult if you have deadlines or you have other commitments, but I took a pretty significant break from my practice last summer. So summer of 2023, I wasn't in the studio. One of the reasons I wasn't in the studio is because I hated my studio, so I didn't go. But it was also, I needed to take a break and just step back and pause and think, okay, I don't like what I'm making. I feel kind of stuck and lost. And let me just go live life. I traveled for a bit. I worked out. I went to Italy. I trained for a triathlon. So I kind of just did other things and took a break from the practice. And when I came back to it, I felt like more clear-headed and like, okay, I think I know a little bit more of what I want to do. And that was difficult because while I was away, I did feel guilt, like, oh, I should be in the studio, I should be in the studio. But I had to be honest with myself. I was like, when I go to the studio, I'm lost and I'm confused. So let me just take a month or two off. I think I took 2 months off because I had just had a show and I was also recovering from a couple illnesses. So I had to take a break anyway. So I thought, let me just live my life for a bit, take a step back, regroup, and then come back into the studio when I'm ready. And when I came back into the studio, I was making paintings that I was really excited about because I had space and time to think and to consider what I wanted to make. So taking a break and giving yourself the space to, you know, think about what you want to do is really, really important. So a lot of what we do as artists, like I said, it's physical, it's the work we make, you know, but it's also how we feel, the dreams that we have. I have a lot of dreams about my paintings and ideas for paintings, the places that we travel, the food we eat, the people we talk to. That's so important. So take a break. Not too long though, because you don't want to like be on a break for a year, you know? I would say like a few weeks to a few months and see what that does for you. The fourth thing I would say I did to get out of a creative rut that helped me was movement, physical activity. So I took up a new hobby last year in November. I began taking figure skating classes. And of course, that's completely separate than my own art practice. It's just a hobby, it's just exercise really. But it helped me so much because it was something that allowed me to move my body and to like, this is very woo-woo, but I do believe in this, to like let energy flow through my body. I feel like I had a lot of pent up stress and like trauma probably, and having the space to like move freely and to learn a new skill and to like test the limits of what my body could do, it gave me a sense of confidence that I was able to take into the studio with me. And it also taught me that I am more than my art practice. And this is true for any job. Like, we are not what we do. Like, our job, no matter what it is, musician, artist, actor, whatever, that's not really who we are. It's just what we do. So seeing myself in another context, in like an ice rink, I also run, I also swim, and sometimes I cycle. It just gave me the opportunity to realize that I'm more than the work that I do, right? And I'm good at other things. I can create a sense of confidence and strength through another activity. And I think doing those other activities, moving my body, like I said, it helped energy flow through me. It made me stronger and it gave me perspective. When you're in the studio a lot, you're like locked into painting, you're locked into just like your practice. You kind of forget, like, you kind of tie up all your worth into that, and you have to untie that. You have to unravel that. Like, you are more than the paintings you make, the drawings you make, the sculptures, the movies, music you make. Like, developing your strength and your well-being and your confidence in another area will directly feed into the work that you do. So move your body, see what you can do, test the limits of your strength, realize that you're more than your practice. Don't tie up everything you do and your worth into your work. Develop strength in another area. And if you're like disabled or not really able to move, I've also found that yoga, just like simple stretches, really helps me. I try to stretch every single night, especially hip stretches. The sacral chakra is involved in creativity, if you believe in that. But I do think that stretching your body is a way to like help energy flow through it as well, and to release tension. So also when we're in the studio, we spend a lot of time just like hunched over and in very awkward poses. So you have to stretch, I think, as an artist, especially your neck, because I don't know, that gets really tight in my body. So move, whether it's yoga, ice skating, running, anything really, and see how that feeds into your own sense of well-being and how it feeds into your art practice. Okay, so the fifth thing I want to bring up is something that is kind of similar to what I just said, but another thing that helped me get out of my creative rut was trying something else creative. So, what is your primary discipline? For me, like I said, it's painting, drawing, sculpting, visual art. What helped me to fully, like the final step, which I think happened this summer, the thing that really like pushed me off the cliff in a good way out of my creative rut, was writing. So doing a completely different creative activity. So I began writing a book that I've been wanting to write for years. So that's what I do every morning. I wake up, have my coffee, and I just get on my laptop and I just work on my book. And that has really, really helped me to find out that my creativity isn't limited to one discipline. And that feeling really gave me a lot more confidence and helped me feel like I can get out of this rut. Like, yeah, I might be in a rut in one area in terms of like, oh, my paintings feel like they're in a rut, but like, I'm not in a rut when it comes to writing. I'm not in a rut when it comes to like, I don't know, stretching or doing yoga or ice skating. So doing something else creative, like allowing the energy to flourish in another area of your life, I think that directly feeds back into the thing that you feel like you're stuck in. So I would recommend, if you are a writer, maybe you should paint. If you're a poet, maybe you should sing. If you're an actor, maybe you should try, I don't know, pottery. So try something else creative and see what that does for you. And it's also nice to become a student again. Something else I did to get myself out of the rut, because I've been painting for years, but I recently started making sculptures. Back in April, I went and I took a sculpture class. And I had never done that before. It was completely new to me. But that taught me so much, and it gave me another creative skill set that fed energy back into my practice and allowed the rut to just sort of dissolve. So if you can, find classes you can take, watch YouTube videos, do whatever you can to like learn something new in terms of a creative field or creative discipline, and see how that impacts your primary discipline. Because I found that doing that, another creative thing, sculpture as well as writing, both gave me a sense of like, okay, I think I know what I'm doing with my paintings now. And both are now sort of influencing what I'm doing with the paintings. So do something else and be a student, be new at something. Because being new at something, it's awkward. You have to be vulnerable. You have to be confused and not know what you're doing. But I don't know. I think that is a learning process that strengthens you and makes you a stronger creative. So yeah, do something else creative and see how that impacts the work that you're doing. That is actually everything. There's only 5 things that I wanted to mention. I think it was 5 things that I said. But I really hope that helped. It helped me. And like I said, I'm so happy every day. Listen, life is not perfect. There's a lot of things going on in my life. And there's many ways where I do kind of feel like I could be better in terms of my art practice. But like, I've genuinely never been happier with what I'm doing. And I think it was these things that allowed me to like move from that space of confusion and sadness and like low self-esteem in terms of like the work that I'm doing, into a space where I'm like confident and happy and excited to make work, and I'm like bursting with ideas. I'm so happy about that. And next month I'm actually taking another class, and this class is going to be on mold making and sculpting. It's sculpture, but it's mostly mold making and casting. So I'm going to learn how to like cast bodies and body parts, because I eventually want to make like full-size mannequins. And I'm really excited for that. And yeah, just keep learning, keep discovering. And the last thing I'll say is you have to trust, because I think being in a rut is part of the artistic process. You have to trust that you will get out of this rut. You have to do the work, but you will get out of it. And I think every artist goes through it, so don't feel guilty like, oh, everyone else knows what they're doing. You know, because like I said, from the outside looking in, it might look like, oh, I know what I'm doing. I don't know what I'm doing. But I think that helped me to eventually get to a space where I do feel like I know what I'm doing. So, yeah, look at the smile on my face. I think that, yeah, I'm happy where I am today because even though I went through all those moments of confusion and being in a rut, like it enabled me to get to where I feel a lot happier. So if you are in a rut, it's okay. You'll get through it eventually. For me, I would say it took me like 6 months to a year to get out of it. More so like 6 months. So it's not gonna last forever. I promise you that. And it's all part of the journey of an artist and the journey of life. Ups and downs, highs and lows. So anyway, that's all I wanted to say. And thank you for watching. Bye.